Hi, Jenny. I know your exam is coming up, so I wanted to get these to you as soon as possible. Let's see what you wrote here. The given flowchart illustrates the process of tea production. It is clear that for each kind of tea, a different procedure is needed. All right, that's a little vague for an overview here. That's true. They all do have different procedures. I think that one thing there's a lot of things you could say here for an overview. For example, you could say that of the 4 tea types, white tea has the simplest production, whereas oolong has the most complex. Okay. Or white tea has the least steps, whereas oolong has the most. You could say that of the 4 tea types, and then name them, only white cannot be used to make scented tea. All right, so there were a bunch of things you could have said. I think that what you decided to talk about was a little vague. Oh, another thing you could have said is that while here, this is actually, so while a different procedure is needed, the steps of sorting and cleaning and drying are universal to all tea types. I think that would have been a really nice overview, actually. Okay, so that's something that for me was a little vague. I think you could have said a little more. All right. For all kinds of tea, the first step is to sort and clean the tea leaves. Next, for green, oolong, and black tea, the leaves are withered, while for white tea, they are only steamed. In order to make green tea, the leaves are then pan-fried or steamed, and then either rolled and shaved or dried while jasmine is being added. For oolong tea, bruising leaf edges is necessary, and it is done in a basket by shaking or rolling them, and after fermentation, they're pan-fried. Black leaves, tea leaves need to be fully fermented after being rolled into strips. Wait, there's something about being cut, isn't there? Rolled into strips. Yeah, cut. You didn't say that. It's not a huge deal. In the end, in the end, get rid of 4. All kinds of tea leaves are dried. Or you could have said all 4 kinds of tea leaves are dried. Okay? Scented tea has a slightly different procedure since after drying green, black, or oolong tea, they are scented with flower fruit extracts before they are cooled. Okay, that's fine. This kind of tripped me up. I get what you did, but I thought I get it. I get what you did. I just think you could have also said this a little differently. It's fine though. I thought you did a nice job. You covered everything that's important. You did it in very few words. I like the way you did this. I absolutely agreed with that. In my mind, I do have a certain way that I like to see this one done. It's similar to what you did, except that I would have talked about the drawing in the beginning. Okay. So like I said, I would have talked about it in my overview, and then I would have said that, you know, the shortest, I would have mentioned that white tea has the briefest stage. It's really only 3 stages, beginning with the sorting and cleaning, then steaming, and of course the last stage, which is universal to all, I would have said it again, drying. And then I would have said, you know, the next stage is the same for the green, oolong, and black tea, which is withering. Okay? From there, they all enter different kinds of patterns. And if you think about it, there are some similarities, but honestly, what you did is fine. I just maybe would have changed a couple of things, but you did a nice job there. Really good. Let's take a look now at your... Okay, this is one about moving locations, I think. It looks like it. Let's see. Nowadays, most companies prefer to have their headquarters or factories in large urban centers. Some governments, though, are motivating them to change their location for the countryside. They're undoubtedly, is that word? Undoubtedly is what you want here. Certain advantages to relocating to a smaller town, but there are some drawbacks for the company as well. Firstly, in most regional locations, there are unemployment problems since not many companies choose to invest there. As a result, the quality of life is lower, and an increasing number of people feel forced to move to bigger cities. By motivating businesses to operate there, many more jobs are created, and a bigger part of the inhabitants, that's a weird word, bigger part, and a greater portion, or maybe a greater proportion would be good to hear too, of the inhabitants would choose to stay. A good example would be my hometown, where a sugar processing factory reopened a few years ago and boosted the local economy. Many people who had left chose to return, and the little town revived. Concerning the benefits for the companies, they can find land at a much lower price, than next to a large urban center, and they can build much better factories or offices. With better and cheaper installations, the operational costs also decrease. Okay, fine. On the other hand, it is not always easy for a company to relocate, especially at short notice. On short notice, some businesses may not be able to cover the cost of new installations. All right, first of all, why do you say especially on short notice? Can you explain to us why? I mean, is this supposed to explain that? Because I don't see it 100% linked, okay? It could also be difficult to find employees willing to move to a smaller town, since most people living in big cities would not want to give up their urban lifestyle for the countryside. This makes it complicated for companies to find the right staff, especially for tasks where more specialization is required. All right, let's see something here now. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got to the 9th line here. This is almost twice as large as this. Okay, did you notice that? You don't really have a lot of negatives here for me. And I don't think you probably developed it as much as you should. You can see this is really considerably larger, so it definitely feels like you've developed this side of the argument more. And if you look at the band descriptors, it says something about it under task achievement. It puts it under band 7, where you cover part of the argument more than the other. That kind of feels like what's happening here. Now, I'm not saying you need to, do a word count for your paragraphs and, kind of like obsessively make sure that they're equal. But you do have to kind of say, this is twice as long as the other paragraph, or almost twice as long in any case. All right, it does feel rather considerably more developed. And I think I even mentioned that to you, like this thing about on short notice. Okay, why? I mean, why are we talking about this? Why? What kind of instance would somebody need to move on short notice? Why are you even mentioning it? And if you're mentioning it, well, then you should explore it a little bit. And then you also said some businesses might not be able to cover the cost of new installations. Okay, well, what do you mean? Why would they not be able to do it? Okay, and then here you explained it, and that was fine. But like I said, there were a couple of sentences that definitely I felt needed a little more development here. So, overall, there is a positive and negative side for companies that choose to relocate to the countryside. It is important for governments to give the right incentives for them to invest in regional locations without forcing them to do so. All right, well, your grammar is lovely. There was one thing I don't really like. I think I've talked about this before, but there are certain words in IELTS essays I never want to see. Those words are big, small, good, nice, bad. Okay? You referred at one point to big cities. Try to avoid it. Just really try to avoid it. Make here you said a smaller town, a smaller town. So again, those are some words that I think you could have substituted with something else. Basically, the words that I mentioned, big, small, good, nice, bad, are, for me, missed opportunities to showcase some better vocabulary. And there is a ton that you can use for cities, city life, towns, and so forth, all right? Let's see, what else? So, yeah, this for me was the issue here, that it wasn't developed enough. And then look at that, look, a bigger part of the inhabitants. That was also a little awkward. So there are a couple of areas where your vocabulary, here, look at this, a good example. Why don't you say a prime example? Okay, so that's the kind of stuff that I would like to see. There were a couple of places where you had some nice vocabulary. Yeah, you talked about like urban lifestyle, you talked about specialization, the right incentives. So that was some nice stuff in this essay. But, there was a lot of this that was just, you know what? The vocabulary wasn't as sustained as it is in some of your other essays. So it's a good essay. Like I said, the grammar is nearly flawless. It's very good. Because I've seen some other essays from you that I thought were really strong. I don't think this is one of the stronger essays you've written. I think that you've written us some essays that are stronger. They're better developed, and there's also some higher level vocabulary. But again, it's still a good essay, so I'm confident you're going to do well. Do we have any more essays? Do we have any more time? with you to send us some more essays before you take your exam. I'm not sure. I want to wish you lots of luck on your exam. I know it's this Saturday, so good luck. Do keep us posted. Let us know how you do. And if you need anything from us, just send us an email. Okay? Good luck.